There are some things you should never do. Things that even if you don't believe them, you shouldn't try just in case. Like when people used to say, if you sit in front of a mirror in the dark and take a photo, you'd capture the devil on camera. Or if you listen to a vinyl record backwards, you'll find satanic messages hidden in the grooves. But there is one thing that tops all those creepy urban legends. And it comes with a warning that if you dare try this, you might not live to regret it. Because in London, there was a girl who received a forwards message that said if you dial 999 at exactly 3:33 a.m., you will hear your death whispered back. So she dialed 999, and what she heard next made her question everything. It was the middle of summer, but inside Jessica's bedroom, the air conditioning wasn't working. Sweat rolled down her face as she scrolled through social media, looking for anything to entertain her. But it was boring night after night after night, and desperate times call for desperate measures. Jessica had seen this challenge go around on Twitter a few days prior, but she just thought it was another silly internet trend. It said, if you receive this message, you should dial 999 on your phone at precisely 3:33 a.m. and you will hear the voice of death itself on the other line. But obviously, she didn't actually think it was a voice of death. Still, Jessica was bored, so she decided to test it out. As the clock ticked closer to 3:30 a.m., Jessica's nerves began to get the better of her. What if it really was the voice of death? As the hands on the clock struck 3:33, she hesitantly pressed the phone against her ear. The operator on the other end was a gruff man. Of course, it didn't work. Why would it work? It was just an operator answering his calls like normal. But then his response made her blood run cold. Your time is running out, he rasped, his voice unnaturally deep and distorted. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Then he hung up. Obviously, it was a prank, right? And yet Jessica couldn't shake off the unsettling feeling that had taken hold of her. How could that possibly be the voice of death? Had someone hacked into the system? But then the next morning, she found out it wasn't a prank. It was a prediction. She woke up the next morning with a start. Was the call from last night just a sick dream? She looked over at her phone, but it was still charging. On the other side of the room, its blank screen, mocking her. With a sigh of relief, she realized it had been a dream, but she couldn't help but feel a little uneasy. Jessica went about her morning routine, trying to forget about the bizarre events from the previous night. She got dressed, ate breakfast, and tried to focus on more pleasant thoughts. However, as the morning wore on, she couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that something wasn't right. And then her phone lit up. It was a text message from an unknown number. You forgot to hang up yesterday? It read. Jessica's heart skipped a beat. How did whoever was on the other end of the line know that she hadn't hung up? She quickly dismissed the message, chalking it up to a simple prank. There was no way it was the same number from last night. As the hours passed, Jessica tried to distract herself, but the cryptic message kept popping up in her mind. The memory of the gruff voice whispering your time is running out echoed in her ears. Despite trying to stay positive, a sense of dread began to consume her. The day dragged on, and Jessica found it difficult to concentrate on anything. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the clock striking 3:33 a.m. Just then, her phone vibrated again. Don't waste your time. The new message read. Who was behind these messages and why were they tormenting her? Then the clock struck 3 o'clock. In the afternoon, Jessica felt a chill run down her spine. Why did the messages seem more ominous now? Hadn't it been a prank last night? Why was she receiving these threatening texts? Was she in danger? Her mind raced with questions. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. The message simply said, "Run." Adrenaline surged through Jessica's veins. She looked around frantically, searching for the source of the threat. Was someone stalking her? Her gaze fell on her phone. Should she call the police? But what would she tell them? A mysterious caller predicted her death. It sounded crazy. She decided to wait it out, hoping whatever was coming would pass. But just then, her phone vibrated once more. You can't hide. The message read, no one can save you now. Terror gripped Jessica. She felt trapped, like a character in a horror movie. Then she noticed something strange. Each message contained a slight delay, almost as if whoever was sending them was toying with her, enjoying her fear. This realization sent shivers down her spine. It was a game to them, but what did they want? Minutes ticked by, and Jessica's anxiety grew. At 3:28 p.m., her phone vibrated. Time is running out, it said. Her heart pounded in her chest. What was happening? At 3:30 p.m., the final message arrived. Your time is up. Jessica's breath hitched. She stared at the phone, paralyzed with fear. What did it mean? What was happening? Jessica found herself frozen with fear. She felt a sudden weakness in her knees and collapsed onto the floor. The world spun around her, and then everything went black. When Jessica regained consciousness, the first thing she saw was the concerned face of a paramedic. What happened? She whispered, her voice hoarse. You fainted, the paramedic replied, gently. We received a call about a possible cardiac arrest. Jessica's eyes widened. Fainted. Cardiac arrest. As the paramedics helped her to sit up, she noticed the worried faces of her family and friends gathered around her. They explained that she had turned pale and collapsed in front of her computer. They had called for help immediately, but Jessica was still confused. She had never fainted before. Was it stress? Overwork? But those thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of the police. They had come to investigate the incident. Jessica learned that a neighbor had noticed several missed calls from Jessica's phone and had alerted her friends. They had found her phone on the floor near her computer with the last message open. "Your time is up," they read. Jessica recounted everything to the officers. The cryptic messages, the gruff voice on the phone, the chilling prediction of her death. But as she spoke, she noticed something odd. They seemed to have vanished into thin air. Of course, the police were skeptical. A mysterious phone call predicting death, and then it all suddenly stopped. It sounded like a tall tale. Jessica understood their skepticism. After all, it did sound unbelievable. Determined to uncover the truth, Jessica went home. She checked her phone again, but the messages were gone. Frustrated, she scrolled through her call log, searching for the number 999. It wasn't there. She had called 999 so many times before, but this call, the one that changed everything, was nowhere to be found. It was like it never happened. But Jessica knew what she had experienced. She had heard the voice, she had felt the terror, and then the realization dawned on her. The messages weren't sent by someone else. It was her own subconscious, her own mind playing tricks on her. Days turned into weeks, but the incident left an indelible mark on Jessica. She sought professional help to understand what she had gone through. Jessica had pushed herself too hard, both physically and mentally, and her body had responded in a unique way. Looking back, she realized the signs had been there. The insomnia, the constant feeling of dread, the panic attacks. But what had triggered it all? She couldn't pinpoint a specific cause. It just sort of happened. Jessica took a break from her hectic life, spending more time with loved ones, engaging in activities that brought her joy. Slowly but surely, she began to heal. The incident served as a wake-up call, a reminder to prioritize her mental health and well-being. Now, years later, Jessica shares her story to raise awareness about mental health. She wants others to recognize the importance of self-care and the need for support when facing emotional distress. The ordeal had been terrifying, but it also became the defining moment of her life, shaping her into a stronger, more compassionate individual.